Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Suited Kings podcast. Today, if you're watching on video, oh, God, you get to see Max's new club's poker hat.
It's a sweet hat, actually.
It is actually. It looks cool. We've got some new club's poker hats. We'll talk about those a little later, though. Today, the topic is going to be something that maybe you thought we'd never get to because of its name. It's called donk betting for a reason. Historically, I feel like people look at donk betting as just sort of a weak play.
It's an amateur move, like back in the day. Like that's what. Whenever someone would donk bet Wes, I would immediately think they were a fish.
Yeah, and there's a little truth to it to this day. Like there's spots where people really mess it up. For those who don't know, a donk bet is when there's a raiser. So let's say pre-flop raiser, big blind calls, the flop comes out, and then the big blind leads.
So you kind of break. Yeah, you break the flow, the betting flow, we'll say.
Yeah, you don't check to the raiser. This can happen on, the turn and river as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit today. We're going to talk about some spots where it's actually good to do so, some spots where it's not good to do so, and maybe how you can play against the donk bets or how you can use the donk bets in exploitative ways as well as kind of what the baseline is.
I really look forward to this episode, Wes. I've admitted that donk betting is not, I don't have a lot of that in my game, except for in a few spots that are very kind of obvious spots to donk bet as a bluff or as a value. I do have both of them, but I'm curious to kind of dive in further and see if there's maybe spots that I'm missing. And I'm assuming that there is, and also assuming that some of our listeners will, be able to take away a lot from this episode as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we let's talk about these clubs poker hats for a second.
All right, let's do it.
So you and I, we're going to be wearing these things around. They're free for us, because we're special, obviously. But we have a few to give away as well. It sounds like our plan is to give away some during our meetup game, and then one or two to our Patreon subscribers as well.
These hats look so good that they can even make Wes look good.
Okay, here we go. It took 5 minutes or so, but
oh God, I was really just holding back that entire time.
Go back to sleep, Grandpa.
Yeah, no, but we did get a bunch of clubs poker hats, and they, if you're familiar with like that kind of golf aesthetic where it's like they're like baseball caps, but they have like the string that kind of goes between the brim and the actual hat part. Very nice hats, and we want to give away some as we were given them to do so. I think a good way to start is by offering one or two to some Patreon members, Wes. So if you guys aren't familiar, Patreon is a place where you can go and watch some more Suited Kings content. It's a place where you can support the podcast. Wes and I create training videos and breakdown videos and just a ton of extra content. If you're interested in learning from Wes and I and the way that we teach, you can check out the link in the description. We have Patreon content on there. And we're going to go ahead and give away some hats to Patreon listeners first.
Yeah.
I just woke up from a nap, Wes, and I feel like my brain is just still trying to fire up. You ever seen those old engines where you got to like pull start it a few times and like mutters? That's about my capacity right now.
Right now or just in general?
Thank you. Yeah. He fires back. Back.
You knew it was coming.
But these hats come in white and blue. I've been rocking them golfing. I've been rocking them walking around. So looking forward to giving some of these away. We'll give away some more to just listeners in general, and actually probably Discord members would be a great way. We're still in the works in those, but we're going to start off with Patreon. So if you haven't signed up for the Patreon, make sure to do that. We release 3 videos a week. They're all, essentially based to help you improve your game. So check that out, link in the description. Wes, we should do a donk betting Patreon where we give examples of where we donk bet.
Should we?
Yeah.
Like a video? Yeah.
I think that'd be cool.
Honestly, we probably both underdo it in a way.
I mean, yeah. Again, I used to think that anyone who did it was a complete fish, but once once solvers came around, they kind of gave us more reasons on why it can be a good play. And I like that. It's, it makes poker less black and white.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so should we just dive into it here?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Do you want me to just do you have I know we both have some content prepared for this. Do you want me to just kind of start off by
Yeah,
throwing some foundational questions about it at you and seeing what we end up with?
yeah, start off with that, and then anything in my notes that is left over we'll touch on. But yeah, let's start with the questions.
Okay, so these are kind of just donk betting foundational questions, we'll call them. But we'll start off here. In which type of board textures does donk betting make theoretical sense versus being a clear mistake? And I feel like this can be a kind of easy one to answer. Um,
Mhm.
I'll go ahead and I'm gonna throw you two boards, and then you're
Yeah.
gonna tell me if you would donk bet it or check as the big blind.
As the
Um,
big blind defending, and
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I,
we're assuming it's a heads up pot against, maybe low jack, high jack.
I I
We're just
will say,
defending here.
yeah, and I will say you can donk bet in other positions from big blind, but I feel like that's going to be the most common spot where you're going to find yourself making plays like this.
Mhm.
And we can actually get into that more later here. But so to start off with an example, cutoff opens, big blinds doesn't matter here. Cutoff opens, folds to you in the big blind. The flop comes ace 10 4.
No, no, no.
No donk betting on this board.
No donk betting.
Why are we not donk betting on this board, Wes?
Well, so the cutoffs range is gonna contain a lot of ace high, like, as a percent of course, we can have a lot of ace X too,
Mhm.
but as a percentage of their range, the ace is gonna be they're gonna have an ace a higher percentage of the time compared to us, because 'cause we'll have all those offsuit, like, 7-5, 8-6, and whatnot. And then, to be clear, we're talking about tournaments, not cash games, so
Yeah.
just a clarification there,
And
but
so is this just because so it's essentially because the range is going to be favored by the opener rather than the defender.
yeah, and, sometimes we say stuff like, "Oh, bet the range, da, da, da," like, it can sound sort of too theory-based. Here's a better way to think about it. If we have a bad hand, if we're bluffing as the big blind here, the reason we don't wanna bluff is because our opponent is going to connect with this board a lot and is rarely going to fold, and if we have a good let's say we have ace 4, right? We flop 2 pair. Well, the reason we don't need to donk bet here is because 'cause they're going to continuation bet a lot more frequently on a board like this anyways, so we can check raise if we want to, or we can trap it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, with either both our strong hands and our weak hands, there's a really clear reason not to donk bet.
I really like how you articulated that. That was yeah, in layman's terms, get rid of the
Mhm.
theory for a minute. Our opponent's just going to yeah, gonna
Yeah,
be having that hand a lot more. So I'm gonna give you three examples instead of two. The second example, and just to clarify, in that first one, we are not donk betting. The
correct.
second example is going to be a little less obvious. Um, Middle position opens, you defend the big blind. The flop comes 7, 8, 10 with two hearts or two of any suit.
Yeah, this is one where I'm still not donk betting. It is closer, definitely,
Hmm.
but,
Well, you can clearly see I'm making my way to
you're
from
making your
hard
way
donk
down.
from no donk bet to yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, this is one where we do have a lot of strong hands. We can have all the strong hands as the big blind, but this seems like much more closer to neutral board, right?
Hmm.
I don't think I think, like, exploitatively, actually, maybe we could do a little donk betting on this sort of board.
Can you
Um,
explain what you mean by that? Why this would be exploitative?
so if I were to exploitatively donk bet, I would probably do it with stronger value, because a hand like ace queen might just check back, but it might float versus a smallish lead here.
Okay.
Or someone might see the lead as weak and then raise with a lot of stuff. And we'll get more into the exploits later, but I think, getting we're just not gonna get folds a lot on the flop, but if we
Okay.
check, there'll be some check back, so kind of the hands that we want to not check back against us, like, we
Okay.
wanna
So
get a little value from them.
what kind of hands would you donk bet exploitatively here? Like top pair, or maybe top pair with a straight draw, or two pair plus?
Yeah, I would go more 2 pair plus here, stuff where we'd be happy to get raised. So top
Okay.
pair, we're not
Yeah.
loving it because we could be pretty crushed, but
Yeah. Especially if we get raised on this board, which sucks.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I
Okay.
could see going either way here. I think default would still be check. The
Okay.
the pre-flop opener can have maybe not can't have the offsuit 2 pair combos, but can have the suited 2 pair combos, can have jack 9 suited for the nuts.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
All right.
and
Let's get,
then I'm
let's,
gonna I'm gonna
yeah.
guess this last word's gonna be like 765 or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, um, yeah, the board is going to be same exact position, same exact opens, but the board's going to be 765. I think this. Are you 100% donking this? And if the answer is no, which it will be, what how does the opener's positions affect that?
So I wouldn't say I'm 100% donking it, but I would say that this is the board we're gonna donk
The
like the
most.
4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8, maybe 7, 8, 9. I don't
Yeah.
know. So the thing about these boards is there are the most possible straights, and in a tournament when we're defending, we're defending stuff like 8-4 suited, we're defending 9-8 off. Um, we have 7-5 off, 6-5 off. Like we have all the combinations of 2 pair. We have a lot of straight combos. We have all the set combos. So the fact that our opponent can have more overpairs than us isn't actually that big of a deal because of how many hands actually beat the overpairs that we have here. This is the one that I threw into the just GTO Wizard to see what it says, and
Yep.
it's I'll phrase it this way: it's not pure donk betting any hand, but it's also not pure checking any. Like it says, we either bet or check with every hand, and
Okay.
so and that's for 1/3 pot sizing. So it's like we and it actually does bet more than check overall. Like we
Overall, it
we
does.
want to
Okay.
donk bet a lot on this board. So it's actually not even the sort of thing where donk betting where it's like a mistake to check. It's not, but I think people just don't do it enough, and it allows for people to get to showdown too easily as the in position player with maybe an ace jack or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
In terms of you had asked like does the opener's position matter?
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, I actually don't know that it does that much because they're not gonna have like a lot of it's gonna be the same thing regardless.
I
Like we're
get.
gonna have
I
I
guess
guess
the reason
maybe
I
we lead more against early position because they won't have like the 6-4 suiteds or something that the button would.
that's exactly what I was trying to get to. Yeah,
Yeah.
that answers exactly what I was trying to get to. Well, let me ask you this now. So, what how does your donk betting strategy change when with the different variety of hands you have in the big blind? So, say you have bottom pair versus two pair versus just an open ender versus maybe even nothing. Like say you have queen, say you defended queen 10 off, and the board is 4-5-6, or excuse me, like 6-5-4
Yeah.
or 7-6-5, something like that.
You know, it's it's not really that big of a difference, surprisingly. Um, Now that's in terms of theory. What I would say exploitatively here is I find that, if you're up against an aggressive professional player, you might want to exploitatively, especially if they don't know who you are, you might want to lead with more nutted hands. Like we said on the last board, like 2 pair plus. where we are able to, where we really want to get raised. Because if we lead here, we, a lot of players might float a lot. But if we know we're up against someone who's going to over raise against us because they see our bet as weak,
Mhm.
that's when great things can happen. So I might exploitatively,
Yeah, I mean, you can get your opponent
take
to
the
put in
nuts. Yeah.
a lot of money in, because they think you're weak with a very weak hand on their end.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I had a follow up question for that, but it wandered off into Neverland, so we'll let that one go wherever it went.
Oh, that's
um,
all right.
let's talk about sizing. I
Yeah.
think this is going to be important as well. Let's start off with solver recommendations for donk bet sizings, and say in similar positions to what we've discussed.
Yeah. So in this spot, it would be like a third pot. I'm looking at it in terms of we're 100 bigs deep. Pre-flop raised to 2.3 bigs, so we lead for 2 bigs into 6.1 on the flop. Um, I like this in a way. So if we're gonna do something different, this is where I think donk betting is so underutilized by good players that we can really turn the dials a bit,
Okay,
if you will. Like,
elaborate. Yeah, I want to hear more about that.
so okay, so I'm looking at if we donk bet, the low jack is only supposed to fold hands really like king queen off, king jack off, like the offsuit broadways, but not even ace king or ace queen really. And then like the suited broadways that don't have the backdoor flush draw, and then maybe like ace deuce suited, there's actually not that much. Anything with a backdoor flush draw will have overcards or a gut shot so all that stuff is supposed to float and sometimes raise, right? I think
So we want to keep it small for that reason. Then, when especially with
well
our what do you? Yeah.
my thought is like, are people think about your opponent and be like, okay, if they have king 10 of hearts and there's 7 6 5 with one heart, might this opponent just throw their hand away?
Mm.
If you think you're up against that type of
So we
opponent.
start aiming for exploits there
Yeah.
to help
And
us make our sizing essentially.
yeah, and then I'm also looking at this and I'm like, man, if we just size a little bit bigger, can we get those backdoor flush draws to fold?
Okay.
Um,
So yeah, pay attention to opponents' tendencies, and if we think they're sticky, maybe size up with our value.
yeah. If they're sticky, size up with a value. And another thing to think about here is, okay, if their flop calling range has a lot of these overcards with a backdoor flush draw, let's say the turn brings a full rainbow. Now we definitely should just keep bluffing. And we can probably bluff small. Like if the turn is the jack of clubs, okay, so spade, diamond, heart, and then the turn is the jack of clubs. Now any backdoor flush draw, unless they turned a pair of jacks, like that hand just doesn't have anything going for it. So we could barrel for like a third pot again and just get the auto fold, you know?
Okay. Okay. Kind of off topic question. I mean, it's on topic, but off this current topic question is: are we ever donk betting multi-way?
I like it. Um, and I think, I don't know theoretically. I don't know theoretically. I would assume so, but my thought is multi-way, the pre-flop raiser is going to c-bet less. So, like, sometimes you just wanna make sure that it doesn't check around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so and I tend to do this, with a hand, like it could either be a very strong hand again or a draw where let's say it's, 8-6-4.
Mhm.
So it could be with a set or a straight or two pair, but it also could be like 10-7 suited where we have a double gutter and it's like, okay, well, it would suck to have this check around if they have just king jack and king queen and ace queen where I could just get some folds now, and even if there's a caller, I can size up the turn and you know what I mean? I don't think
I don't think I have a donk bet strategy that I've ever used against multi opponents. I think one of the main and something I've stressed on this podcast a lot is like the last thing you want to do is end up in no man's land on the turn.
Mhm.
And then be in an uncomfortable spot. Like, do I continue and then end up punting, right? So you just got to be careful when also making these kind of moves to be either well studied or well versed on your opponent to be comfortable. Or I guess the main component here is to just have a plan on if you're going to donk into multi-way or even just against one person, is to have a plan on what you're going to do on most turns.
Yeah, honestly, I would say, like, I I've sort of adhered to the "don't be in no man's land" thing, which is why I kind of have used polarized hands.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is something to be said like, if we look at the heads up pot here, it's like we should be leading some of those medium strength hands, which does kind of put us in no man's land. But so one thing would be, learn how to play from no man's land in a way, but also
Well, that's where
my
there's an extra edge, right?
there
Like,
is, yeah.
yeah.
But I don't even know that I've fully done that. And so what I would say is like I have taken hands where I know clearly if I want money to go in or if I'm just bluffing,
Mm-hmm.
and my bluffs tend to have decent equity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another way to do it too.
Okay. Are we ever um are we ever gonna overbet donk bet? I don't know if I've actually the only time I
Never
ever
seen that.
I mean, no, I see it, but what it
Mhm.
typically is an amateur with like
Just shoving.
just yeah, with like well yeah, I guess it kind of reminds you, was that a donk bet when we were at Council Bluffs, Iowa, and that one dude like didn't he like donk shove like third pair or something and you had aces and called or something like that? Do you remember that? It was at the final table of the
Oh,
Monte.
so yeah, I wasn't in the hand, but there were 4 left, and then there was a limp from small blind, big blind raised, small blind called. Flop was 7-5-3, and small blind shoved for 4x pot, and big blind just
What did
had
he
a
have
set.
again? Yeah, and what did
It uh, small blind had jack 10 offsuit.
he yeah, so he just had yeah, well, so that I guess it's interesting, right? So that is, I feel like the outlier. I don't see that
Mhm.
often. What I will see more often is, an amateur flopping two pair or just top pair and just full sending it, regardless, just being afraid
Yeah,
that they're gonna get outplayed or something like that.
yeah, I'll see it on okay, here's actually a
That
spot
Jack
where
10
it is
hand just
recent.
blows my mind.
That was funny.
You and I just looked at each other like, what did I just witness?
Yeah. Yeah, and then I ended up winning.
Yeah, you did.
Um, the
Any chance this guy can get, just any
just
chance he can get. Oh
should I
yeah,
just
and
grab the ring from right here? I mean, you have your trophies behind you, like
I'm just playing, brother.
you disgust me.
Yeah, but I mean, again, going back to the point, I don't interest. I would love to see like a good, like someone considered, one of the best in the world to do some over pot donk betting. It doesn't. I don't know where it would make sense. So it would be hard
Yeah,
for me.
here's the only place where it's, like, similar, where it's decent to do something like that is if we're very short in a tournament and we defend big blind and we're looking to flop any equity and get it
Oh, a
in, like,
stop and go.
a stop and go,
Yeah,
that can make sense, but I feel like there are people who take it way too far where they'll defend off, like, 12 big blinds, flop will come 10-8-3, and then they just shove in the 10 big blinds, and it's like,
with what? That doesn't
maybe
matter,
an
I
8.
guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
At that point, you have enough chips where you can check jam and still have fold equity, you
Yeah, for
know?
sure. Yeah, I like stopping going around 6 or 7 binds and below is kind of where I like doing
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, I think that's a good point. Stop and goes can be one place where it would be. I don't even. It's funny because I considered a stop and go and not a donk bet. But yeah, um, if you guys aren't familiar with stop and goes, check that out. I don't know, Google it or something. Stop and goes can be actually kind of a good way to build a stack if you're in the big blind with a short stack. It can be sometimes a way to get you back on track. But you got to know when to do it and when to just not and to let it go and let it ride.
Mhm.
Um, okay. Any last thoughts on that before we get on to some more questions?
No, keep it going.
All right. This one is a good question that I do not know the answer to, and I was hoping you could maybe give some insight to. Is how does the donk sizings change between like a single raise pot and a three bet pot, and what is the difference? I guess between or what does the difference look like between a three bet pot and a non three bet pot when donk betting? I feel like donk betting and I feel like when a pot gets to a three bet pot pre-flop, we see a lot less donk betting.
Yeah, it's very rare that it would be a good idea. Um, and man, I have so rarely done it, but here's generally speaking, you just don't lead after being 3 bet and then you call.
Right,
Here
because even with your value, like, you wanna either check raise or just trap or
yeah, here's an exception, and I'm sure there are more, but here's one exception. So, like, in a cash game, for example, hijack opens, cut off 3 bets, hijack calls, 9-8-7 flop.
okay,
Hijack wants to basically 100%, but every hand wants to mostly lead. Every hand
okay.
wants to donk bet, and it's like a third again, it's like a third pot. And the reason here is because the 3 better in the cash game shouldn't really have like, they can both have jack 10 suited, but the caller can have 6-5 suited plus some suited 2 pairs, whereas the 3 better can't. The 3 better probably will have less of the pocket pairs. Maybe not, maybe it's close, but anyways, it's like and in cash games, ranges are much more condensed because you're just a lot tighter pre-flop. So this sort of stuff makes up a bigger portion of the range.
Do you have
Um,
any idea of what, the donk lead would look like here for without that wouldn't be value?
yeah, it's every hand. It's
Okay,
like
just
ace 5
every hand.
suited. It's,
D I mean, is
it's
this
like
even without backdoors or with
yep.
backdoors typically? That's
Yeah,
crazy to me.
it's like king jack suited.
Yeah.
I guess that's a gutter. King queen suited.
That all makes sense to me. I mean, it's essentially just like, something open in the big blind defend. It's just the range advantage, right?
Yep. And that's a great way to think about it because we think about who, playing in flow, so to speak.
Yep.
But really, in flow just means because most of the time the person who raises pre-flop is gonna have the big pocket pairs, whereas the person who calls isn't. And most boards are not gonna have too many strong hands on the like hands that can already beat an overpair, you know? So there are some exceptions where a big percentage of someone's range might be able to beat an overpair.
Okay. Okay.
And so those are kind of the spots you wanna do it. But in general, yeah, the donk betting on a out of position in a 3 bet pot is, like, very rare to be able to do. It's I guess I guess it would be similar type of boards though, but maybe like, yeah, we have the 9-8-7 or the 8-7-6 type of board. So maybe it's kinda actually, maybe it is somewhat the same.
And let me add to this, and I think it's obvious, but some people might level themselves. But if we do end up donk betting in a three bet pot on the 9-8-7 board, and we face any resistance at all, and our hand is not of value, it's just a bluff, it's okay to just jump ship at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
want to try, like for example, say we donk bet on 987, we get called, so we say it's one third or something, we get called, and then the turn's a deuce. Or let's actually talk about this for a second. The turn's a
Yeah.
deuce. Maybe this is a good card for us to consider continuing on compared to maybe a king turn or something like that. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna throw it in the solver now because now we basically want to, and by the way, I was looking at 876 and 765 boards, and we do want to do some donking
In three
in
bets?
three bets.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
I'm getting in the mix, baby. Hey, next meetup game, next Tuesday,
oh,
guys.
I
Get
know.
in there. And oh, that's Donk City. I'm telling you.
Oh man,
Specifically against Wes.
yeah, that's probably. I mean, have we mentioned that I won the last meetup game?
We did
By the way,
not. I didn't even want to give you that time of day, my
yeah.
friend.
By the way, I didn't even. Look, you guys, listen to this. Listen to this. I took the night I wasn't streaming, I wasn't playing an online session. I was at the Twins game with a friend, and I had already registered for the meetup game because I planned to play it on my phone. The great Daniel Kennedy texts me at, like, 7:32, "Hey, you're blinding out." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man." So, I jump in. Anyways, 1 bullet, I win the meetup game.
Wow. It's about time. Is that you're a two-timer, right?
Technically 3.
No,
I
no, no,
won.
no, 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 no. You're a two-timer. The third time there was 3 entries because there was a bug in the software that locked people from registering.
Yeah, because you punted within, like, 2 minutes.
Was it yeah, so just quick story because we're totally going off topic here, but, we had 3 people, 4 people or 3 people to start it. I went all in first hand against
Yeah.
Wes. He called and bust me, and because the tournament got heads up while registration was still going, that automatically shuts down registration.
Yeah.
Um, and
So I won the heads up battle.
yeah, but that's the only time that's ever happened. I mean, we typically get 20 plus entries in there, so that's,
Yeah, we actually had a big one last time. It was 30s or 40s maybe.
oh, really? Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
usually I would say
And
somewhere between 600 to
and
a
someone
1,000
quit after
sweeps.
2 bullets.
I was tired of it. I was just tired of it. Daniel
Yeah.
Kennedy. Oh man, you're lucky you weren't there in person. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't have done anything. But anyways,
He had a pretty epic bluff against me.
did he?
It was terrible,
Let's
but
get back to donk betting, damn it.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
Every bet that Daniel Kennedy makes is a donk bet
Yeah, I think
by
people
definition.
to our listeners who aren't from our area, yeah, he's just, he's the local fish, so he messaged me
He
the other
he's the self-appointed Suda Kings troll, or just
yeah.
like Minnesota poker troll, I feel like.
He is a big troll. He messaged me the other day and he's like, I heard my name on your podcast again. I didn't know you guys loved me so much. I'm like, oh, you know what? We got to stop giving him the time of day. So let's end
That's
that
true. We
conversation.
gotta do that.
um, okay, let's do let's move on. So we've discussed kind of the foundations of donk betting. We've
Oh, no,
discussed
you'd asked me a question.
what was it?
Um, let's
I
say it's
forgot already.
987, we lead
Oh
after
yeah, the
getting
king
3
versus
bets,
the deuce, for
it gets
example.
called turn deuce. Now our strategy is we're gonna be a little more polarized. We're gonna do a decent amount of checking, but we're gonna bet large with, and by large, I mean like 3 quarters or even overbet with our sets, some straights, and then some bluffs, mostly that would include a 10,
And that's on what
um,
turn?
on the deuce,
On the deuce turn.
and
Okay.
then maybe some, like, ace jack, king jack, queen jack, gut shot as well.
Would we also
So
size up sets and stuff to kind of just target
yes,
any
yes.
king X that floated and smashed that turn?
This is a deuce turn.
I'm just saying against the king.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's see
Yeah,
about a king. We we're gonna bet 3 quarters, but it's mostly gonna be, yeah, sets and then the 10 like, it's a little more checking in general because the king hits our opponent more,
makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of my general
and
thought as well.
yep.
I
So
think this is a good takeaway because once we're past the flop, where do we go from there, right? So if the turn starts smashing, the caller's range, then we can maybe start giving up a little bit, right? Compared to where if it's a deuce and it's not, we can start applying more pressure.
start, yeah, hammering away more.
Hammer away. All right. Okay. And you know, what if it's we'll just leave that because we could just I feel like we could discuss any topic we have on here, we could discuss for hours and hours on end and really dive into
Of
deep
course,
stuff.
yeah,
Um, Great time to just kind of check out our Patreon if you haven't yet. That's where we
yeah.
can get
Yeah,
more
we
deep
just
in.
released a couple more videos the last couple days, so
Yep. Make sure to check that out and have a chance at winning one of these clubs poker hats. We're gonna give away a couple of them to Patreon members, so stay tuned for that. We'll probably end up notifying them via Discord. So make sure you're a Discord member as well. I think we just hit 300 members or just under 300 members
yeah, it
in
might
there.
be 298 or 9, but
Yeah, check that out. So we discussed foundations, we discussed, ranging dynamics, we discussed sizings. Let's discuss, and I guess we've slightly discussed this, but exploitative versus GTO.
mhm. Yeah, so we have discussed it a bit. I would say generally the way I exploit is if I'm up against someone aggressive, I'm gonna donk a lot, like almost always donk my super strong stuff.
Hmm.
And then if I'm up against like a weaker player, I am going to just donk a little more aggressively. Maybe not even on the flop, but I'll just continue with the bluffs more on the turn.
I
And
feel
then
like
if they
this will.
keep
I feel like this will be easier to utilize live than it is online.
probably, yeah.
Continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh no, that's all right. I would agree though.
Just because I feel like it's easier to get reads on opponents live than it is online. Like it's easier for me to remember this guy's overfolding. He's folding to a lot more C bets, especially without HUDs, online.
Mhm.
Um,
And I think too, like even live, even people who are decent players, maybe not the best, but even some of the decent players who aren't usually giving stuff away, if you do something that sort of surprises them, like donking, there's a chance you'll get a read off. Like if they're excited by the fact you did it, or if they're sort of annoyed by it,
yeah, you can
you
kind
might
of
be able to
pick up.
pick up on that.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. There's so much more interesting things when playing live poker than online. Um,
Yeah.
Okay, so first question for you. Um, Against population tendencies, where do you think donk betting can be the most profitably overused?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, Probably I'm trying to think population.
Yeah, against the entire ocean of players.
Mhm. I would say so let's say when we're in a somewhat ICM like an ICM related spot, getting close to the money maybe, and we are the covering stack. We defend and then we lead out. We're gonna get a lot of folds. Like
Yeah,
the hands that are supposed to float a lot of the time are just gonna be like, "This isn't worth it."
yeah, yeah.
So I would actually say that, if we bet 30% on
Ooh,
a even if it's not a standard donk board, even if it's like a, you know,
ooh, I like this one.
9-6-4,
You can start
and we just
widening the range you're donk betting on just because our opponents are just going to be more inclined to fold because the money's approaching, the final table's approaching, first place is approaching, whatever it might be.
yeah, and let's say we have 40 blinds and they have 15.
Yeah.
They're not gonna wanna deal with it. They're
Because
not gonna float their
well, they know that
king,
they're going to
queen,
most
backdoor
likely yeah, they
flush
know they're
draw
most likely
hand,
going to face an all in on the turn then for their tournament life.
or by the river, if
Oh,
we
right,
lead
right.
like 1.5 bigs and then they're like, "Oh, well, it's gonna be
Ooh,
3.5 on turn and all in
I
river."
love those really small ones, especially like oh yeah, those are yeah, they just fall apart too. It works so
Yeah.
well.
And then yeah, it's like if they have aces, that might be where they just are like, I'm all in," so they might not even trap you effectively,
Okay. Well,
you
that kind
know?
of leads into the second question here, and I think we partially answered this with that. But what are the most common mistakes players make when facing a donk bet? Overfolding can be one of them, for example, in those ICM situations, but maybe that's not necessarily a mistake.
You're right that it might not be a huge mistake. Um,
I think a lot of times, if it's early in a tournament, overcalling would be a big mistake. People just,
yeah,
um,
people just flicking. They're like, "Oh, it's 500 chips." Like
yeah, and I
I
have
call
25
with
here.
any
Yeah, yeah,
overcard.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's a good one.
yeah. I would say it's sort of similar to the other types of spots, right? Where people just overcall early in tournaments, overfold late in tournaments. Um, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I will say maybe I don't know though because maybe I don't donk bet enough.
Yeah, I mean, I implore everyone to get out there and throw in the donk bet every once in a while.
Yeah. Do you have any more questions? There's one thing I do want to talk about a little more.
On that topic, that is the last question, but I do have some other topics we can get into here. Unless,
Okay.
yeah, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah. Go ahead.
Um, and this is actually where I think is going to be the most interesting part of this conversation is the turn and river.
Yep, that there it
Is that what
is.
you're getting into?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, what does that look like? What does donk betting on the turn and river look like? And I guess that can look a lot different depending on if it went check check on the flop, if it went bet call on the flop.
Yeah, if it's check on flop, I don't even really consider it a donk bet
Right,
anymore.
because yeah, I agree with that as well. Also, I want to kind of just say my thoughts on donk betting the turn. I think that just to kind of simplify things, or maybe this is oversimplifying things, but a lot of times just keep that same thought we talked about on the flop. When the board is favoring what I would be, say you defend the big blind, the board is favoring. So if say four comes out to a straight, um, I'll give you a quick example. So say early position opens and I defend the queen 10 of hearts.
Mhm.
The flop comes, give me something like, we'll say it's like 5, 6, 8 with two hearts. So I have two overs and a flush.
Yeah.
I have two
Yep.
overs and a flush draw, a flush draw, um,
Flushdraw.
a flush draw. So now, I we don't dock bet here. We check. Our opponent c bets and we just call.
Mhm.
Now, what did I say? It was 5, 6, 8. Now, if the turn
Yep.
comes a seven of clubs that doesn't complete anything, and I'm going to have
Yeah.
a lot more sixes in my range that complete straight draws, this might be a spot where I start
A lot more
bluffing
nines, right?
our nines.
Nines
Yeah.
and fours.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is going to be a spot where I start turning my flush draw into a bluff because my range is going to have more straights, and should be able to get him to fold all of his overpairs at this point.
Mhm.
Thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's a good example, like or if the 6 pairs, suddenly you're gonna have more 6x
Yeah,
that beats
the
the
pairing the
overpairs.
boards is a huge one too. For example, if the board comes, yeah, the same exact board, 9, 7, 6. I said it correctly this time, right?
I think you said 5, 6, 8 before.
Whatever.
I don't know.
Anyways, it doesn't matter if when the board pairs on it doesn't matter what the board is, right? When the board pairs on the turn, um, which is a hand that I could be flatting with on the flop, compared
Yeah.
to yeah,
Especially the low right, when it's one of those more low because if it's ace, king, queen, then then we're not really donk betting ever,
right,
but
right, because they're gonna have so many hands that are not gonna be folding.
yep. Yeah, I think there's a class even if it's like, let's say jack 7, 6, we have 10, 9, and we check call. Turn comes a 7, then you'll see some leading too, where it's like, we're gonna have a lot more sevens from the big blinds than
Mhm.
the middle position player. And we can fold out. Now this is where if we're on ACR, suddenly I'm like, okay, yeah, but they don't even fold king queen here. So what am I even doing?
ACRs, and I just saw a topic on this the other day. I don't know if it was in Discord. I think it was in Discord, but like people were talking about, yeah, like the difference from ACR compared to global or any of these sweeps coin sites because ACR has, all of the Europeans on it, has the whole world on it essentially that has
Yeah.
access to it. And they're all going to be either sticky or just way more studied. They're going to be able to
Hmm.
know when to float these hands on these things. So if you're playing on those sites, be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good practice too. It is good practice, but
Yeah.
yeah, like on a site like Clubs, you're not going to see I mean, there are certainly some good players on there, but you're not gonna see a lot of the same, uh, GTO-based play.
Let me ask you, do you think it's wise to start practicing donk I don't know if practicing donk betting is the right way to put this, but to start, implementing donk betting into your normal standard higher say you on average play 55 to 218s online.
Mhm.
Would it be wise to start implementing donk betting into those standard tournaments or maybe dropping down into lower stakes to practice with it? And
I'd
yeah,
say if you're already winning at the higher stakes tournaments, you should just try and implement them there.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you're going to, I guess the reason that might be an actual issue is because you're going to get people the people in the especially if you start doing micro stakes, they're not going to play the same in the higher stakes anyway. So it might not assist you in playing with those higher stakes. Do you understand what I'm saying there?
I do, yeah.
People are just like, this is a $5 tournament. I'm calling anything. Whereas
Right, in those spots, you just wanna lead big, just play
it's just
as
exploitative.
ABC, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take big hands and put all the chips in.
Yeah. It's simple. That's the easiest way to win tournaments, I tell you.
Yeah,
Make big hands and then bet big.
yeah.
Um, okay. Okay. And then we discussed this a little bit prior to recording this episode, but what does a good donk bet on the river look like?
So, let's take the example of let's use your queen 10 of hearts example. Flop is 5, 6, 8, 2 hearts, we check call. Let's say turn is a jack, so we turn a gut shot, right?
Hmm.
And we check call again.
So now
Argument
we
for
have a
checking.
nine for a straight and with hearts out there still too.
Yep.
So we have a flush draw and a gutter to the nutter.
Yep, so 5, 6, 8 jack. Now let's say the river is a 7 or a 4.
Hmm.
Now
Hmm.
we have a lot of straight combos that come in, especially a 4, I would
Hmm.
say,
Hmm.
with the open ender. Now I think this is a great spot to dunk because if we had a 7, we would want to value bet because we would now expect a hand like aces, kings, queens, a jack to all check back the river.
Hmm.
So we would reasonably donk bet our value.
So
So
it's
we
a
should
great place to
also
balance our bluffs and our value donk betting here.
yep.
Yeah. So okay, that makes sense. Because if we think they're all their one pair over pair hands, they're gonna just check back. We want to get value from those.
Mhm.
Um, but I guess does that kind of fight the point of bluffing then, or do we just size up with our bluffs?
No, we just use the same size, like,
I know that's
our
unbalanced, but
yeah, I mean, right, if we think that our opponent is 100% calling or folding over pairs, then we if they're calling all the over pairs, we just bet big with value and don't bluff, but if they're always folding over pairs, then, like, then it's just tougher to get value, right? But then we just bluff everything. But if we think our opponent is maybe calling with over pairs that unblock the flush draw, but folding over pairs that block it. You know what I mean? Like we can we can't make every play we make isn't going to work in the moment, so we just like sort of develop a strategy around it. So yeah, I would say just do the same thing. Our default should be doing the same thing with our bluffs as we are with value. And there could be, 2 different sizes. Maybe there's a size where we're bluffing our so was it 5, 6, 8 jack? If we have like 5, 9 suited and the river's a 4, maybe we turn a 5 into a bluff and we use a big sizing to try and fold out the over pairs. And that's the same sizing we use with our straights, but maybe if we have a hand like 5, 4 suited and we river 2 pair, now we're going for a small value bet, like a
okay.
block bet,
Yeah.
and maybe we use the block bet with queen 10 of hearts as well, and maybe we're just trying to fold out like ace X of hearts, king X of hearts, right?
Ooh.
Um,
I like do you ever yeah, do you I like kinda do you ever donk bet as a inducing bet? Is that kind
Yeah, you can do that too. I mean, there are certainly spots where I will donk bet the nuts or something,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so where I could maybe 3 bet.
Well, right, sometimes
Ooh,
that will get you the
I
abs.
had this sexy hand on ACR
Okay, let's hear it.
the other day.
Oh, it sounds like
Um,
there's some donk betting involved.
yeah, it was on stream. I don't remember the exact sizing on flop, but here's what happened. So I defend pocket sevens versus I think low jack, and the flop is 10-7-3, and I check call. And the turn is the 10 of diamonds, which is the second diamond, and it pairs the 10. And so, and I actually talked through it on the stream. I was like, okay, I'm gonna lead here because I think he's gonna float me with ace high still. I don't want him to check back like,
'Cause you have a ton of draws here. Yeah, you could have a
yeah, I
ton of
can have
draws.
all the straight draws,
Yeah,
right?
mhm.
Um, I mean, a 10 is
Was
gonna,
this on ACR, you said?
yeah.
This is the
I mean,
better
this,
place to do this too, because yeah,
yeah. And
as for what we
so,
mentioned a few minutes ago.
yeah, it was in like a 215. And so I donked with the full house, right? And he called, and the pot was something like 16 or 19 big blinds. And
Oh
we
god,
had,
just bet 1?
oh no, river was the 9 of diamonds. So it brought in the flush,
Oh,
some straights, and then 8-9 made a pair. So now I lead for like quarter pot
okay.
again. For like it was 4 big blinds into like 16 or 19. I don't know. Anyways, my I said on stream, I'm like, a flush or a 10 is going to raise me anyways,
Yeah.
so I'm not worried about not getting enough value.
Mhm.
Um, I want to induce or to make sure that I get something. If he has like some random 9 or a pocket pair, I wanna make sure to get a little from those, the hands that check
Ooh,
back.
I like that, yeah, that gives you that's where the opportunity comes from compared to making it like 2 big blinds or something or 1 big blind.
Yeah. So he shoves quickly and I call, and he has ace king with the king of
Ace
diamonds.
with the king of diamonds? Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Let's
it's like,
go, let's go.
yeah,
Yeah, well played, dude, you just owned his soul.
yeah,
That's one of the beautiful things about poker is, just, like, having a plan and executing it,
yep.
having it work out to your the way you wrote it up, as they say. So, yeah, that's awesome. So I guess, yeah, we've discussed, turn and river considerations there, and I think that's where it can get a little bit more tricky, but you can donk as value or as a bluff, and I think the key takeaway here, and correct me or maybe, re-articulate if this doesn't sound correct, but it's like, just if the board favors your range compared to what their range is.
Yeah, it is pretty much that simple, and I think as we said at the beginning of the podcast, it's we can use these technical terms like range advantage and whatnot, and people can maybe their eyes sort of glaze over, but like it really is, if you have a range or if you're at a range disadvantage, the reason you don't bet is like your bluffs aren't going to work that frequently. And if you have a strong hand, your opponent's probably going to bet anyways. So you get to have and if you have like a middling hand, you don't really want to bet because you want to keep their bluffs in, so
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the way to think about range advantage, I guess is the
Any last thoughts you would like to give on donk betting before we wrap up?
good question. The one thing that I wanted to mention is like if it's a low, let's say we defend the big blind and it's a low paired board, like a 4-4-6. This is way different than a different low board because when there's a paired board, there's so many less combinations that we can have that are strong. Like think about it this way. There's first off, there's no straights on that board. And second off, if our opponent has ace high, there are only 5 cards in the deck that beat him now, opposed to 9 cards, right? Because there are two
Oh,
fours left and 3 6s.
yep.
And even if it's just like 3-4-6, now it's 3 3s, 3 4s, 3 6s plus the straights. And so the low paired boards, there is some check raising to be done there.
I
That's
feel like
probably a
those
different
work better as
episode.
check raising from the big blind rather than leading. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
agree with
you
that.
don't don't start leading the paired boards even if they're low. So
That's I feel like that's some really good
all right,
advice. A little touch of wisdom from Mr.
indeed.
Wesley Cannon. All right. Well, Guys, if you are interested in applying donk bets to your game, come meet us in our meetup game, which would be next Tuesday. What's the date on that, Mr. Calendar Man?
September 2nd.
Damn, you're
September
good.
already.
How do you do that? I need to know how you do that. But yes, wait, no, wait. What's the date? Today's the 26th, right? As we're recording
Yep.
this. Okay, yeah, September 2nd is correct. So
Yeah,
look
I
at that.
knew
Are you autistic?
it.
I wonder. Sometimes I wonder. But anyways, yes. Me, come, come implement some time. I can't even hold it
You're
together
not the
anymore.
only one, my friend. You're not the
Uh,
only one.
yeah, come play in the meetup game. It's a 55 sweeps coin on Cubs Poker. Really enjoy getting in there every other Tuesday. We have a meetup game on there. It's at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And we have some ring games going as well. You can come join in on. We really
Yeah,
like
you can
to
play
have
me
fun.
heads up at 510 if you want.
You can't help yourself, can you? But yeah, go play Wes than 510. I would not recommend doing that unless you're very confident in yourself. So, um, sorry if I'm pushing off your hustle here,
Oh
Wes.
no, that's all right.
Yeah, make sure to sign up using the link in the description for Clubs Poker. If you're new to Clubs Poker, that helps support the podcast. We really appreciate that. Winner of the next meetup game, we're going to give away a hoodie and a hat. Let's do that. Let's give away a hoodie and a hat. We were going to give away a hoodie last week, but Wes frickin' won it. Schmuck.
I should get another hoodie,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Go buy one, pal. What do you think, Wes? A hat and a hoodie, or is that too much? I don't care what you're saying. We're giving away a hat and a hoodie at the next
Let's
meetup
do a
game.
hat and a hoodie, and then second place, maybe a hat,
Yeah, well, I like that. So we'll give
and
away a
then
second place.
the other, because do we have like 5 hats to give away right now?
Yeah, we got about 5 hats to give away right now. They're
So then
blue
the
and
others
white.
can be Patreon, probably. Yeah, let's do first place hat and hoodie, second place hat.
That sounds good. And just so you guys know, the hoodie is not a Clubs Poker hoodie. It is a Tilted Compass Suited Kings
Suited
collab
Kings, yeah.
hoodie. It's incredibly comfortable. It's one of the highest quality hoodies I've ever worn. Probably the highest quality. It's absolutely incredibly comfortable. It keeps me warm when I'm playing live poker. And it's Suited Kings merch. We got our logo on there and everything. It's really cool. So come meet us in the meetup game. Chance to win a hat and a hoodie and a hat for second place. We have Wes has been Twitch streaming his bankroll challenge from 10K to 100K. Wes, where are you at right now?
46,252.
He's well on his way to making that or reaching that goal. If you're interested in improving your game, we mentioned the Patreon, which is a great place to join in, but also for free, you can just watch Wes play. He'll answer your questions live on stream, and you can just kind of get a look into what a robot does.
Yeah. No,
I'm
it's a
just
beautiful
kidding.
sight. It's a
I'm just
beautiful
kidding.
sight.
No, 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 no. But make sure to check that out. Make sure to check out our merch. Links again. How many times can I say links in the description? But there's a lot of links in the description for you guys to click on. And what else am I missing, Wes? I ask you this every episode. Too many things.
That feels like it, right?
Did we nail them all? All right, good.
Yeah.
That sounds
If you
good.
need
Well,
a house, contact Max.
yes, your local
He's a
realtor.
alleged
Whatever
realtor.
state you're in, actually, I can help you out. So alleged.
Yeah,
um,
I haven't seen it in person yet, but
Yeah, well, once you hit a score, you come buy a house for me. All right,
all
Wes.
right, there we go.
And with that, we will see you guys later this week with another episode of the Suited Kings podcast.